Looking good. The water's cleared up nicely for January. It's hot, 26.5 degrees Celsius. Absolutely beautiful swimming. The visibility's still been a little bit hazy like it normally is at home, but still well and truly diveable. I did a really long rock hop out from the shore. Unfortunately, being Sunday, there was lots of boats around and just had to constantly keep my head up and make sure I didn't get run over. I was on the way back in and I hadn't seen anything decent. It looked absolutely dead, and I finally saw this school of bait on a reef in about 15 metres of water. There's still one little rock with the yellow sponge on it, and then a couple of nice Samson fish on one side of the school, and then look back at another couple of bigger Samson fish coming in. But I thought, oh, this is my good chance for a Spanish here, so I won't shoot them. And after about probably another 8 or 9 drops, I finally saw this nice eating size Spanish come cruising in. I thought the shot was okay, but he went off like a gut shot cat, and it's always a little bit difficult to tell how well you've gone through or exactly where you've hit the fish. I always aim between the 2 fins in the middle of the fish, as it seems to give you the best holding. And anyway, I'm making my way back up to the surface, and the little Ronston is about to dip under. The float went down about 4 or 5 foot and then popped back up like a champagne cork, and I thought I'd lost the fish, and you can hear my reaction on the surface. I started pulling in the line. I couldn't feel any weight except maybe the gun, and I was like, oh, I can't believe it, I've lost this Spanish. And then he must have just really turned, the float must have just turned him, and anyway, I started to put the pressure. I could feel the fish again. I was like, oh, thank goodness. This fish went all the way to the bottom, which is fairly unusual for Spanish mackerel. Unfortunately, he'd gone off the reef and out onto the sand, as I was on the very edge of the reef and the sand, which is where you often find Spanish, on the upcurrent side. And yeah, anyway, I saw the gun coming back up and the fish on it. I was very, very happy. It's easy to lose the fish at this stage. They want to do these little runs. He hasn't completely burned himself out, and he's just doing these little hard runs, and if there's anything wrong, you can just pull the shaft straight out of them and lose them right at the end. So I didn't have any sharks chasing this fish around, hadn't seen any sharks, so I was pretty confident I could take my time and do a proper job of landing it. You can see where the shaft is just above that anal fin, and that's a very good holding spot. That and the fin above it. They've got a lot of gristle in there, and if you don't put too much pressure on and you've toggled properly, you'll nearly always land the fish. It's hard to stay patient. You just want to pull this fish in and try and grab it, but it's the worst thing you can do. If you don't have sharks chasing it, just take your time, pull it in nice and easy, let the fish run every time it needs to, and you'll get your fish in the end. You can see the water, even though it's got that nice bluish colour and it's super warm, it's got so many particles in it that really reduces the amount of visibility. Actually, it's a bit of a bonus when you're shooting the Spanish, because you can really judge how close the fish are to you by the haziness. When it's really clear, it's hard to tell if a Spanish is big and far away or small and close to you sometimes. So I don't mind it a bit hazy, and the Spanish tend to come a little bit closer to you as well, which can make it easier to get a shot into. My technique for grabbing the Spanish is try to get your hand around the tail wrist, put your other arm around the body, and let it do those wild shaking that it does, and then it'll stop after a few seconds, and then slide that hand, that free hand, up into the gills and grab hold of the gills. And once you've got your hand in the Spanish gills, doesn't matter how big that Spanish is, you've got it under control. They can't do anything. Always remember to just grip it tightly around the throat. Don't let your fingers stray anywhere near up near the teeth, because they have very, very sharp teeth and can give you a very nasty injury. I've never had a Spanish actually try to bite me, but it's still very easy to get an incidental cut from them because their teeth are just like razor blades.
Yes. Yeah, yes, thank you. Oh, nice finish.
He's a lovely fat Spanish mackerel, only 12.5 kilos, but that little head and that fat body made him super tasty. I've already smoked some of it up, and yeah, I've got a few cryovac bags in the freezer, so very, very nice. One of my favourite eating fish.
Nice Spanish. Good swim out there, very dead. Finally got one, thank goodness. My good mate Pete, thanks for the camera work. Yeah, we'll get into them soon, won't we?
Oh, it's just a good bit of rain coming there, mate.
Well, Pete was fired up after that, me getting that mackerel in the morning, so we decided to have an afternoon dive, and the weather's completely changed. It's flogging down rain, there's a bit of swell, heavy overcast, which is perfect mackerel conditions, so we thought we'd swim out the back of this reef. Couldn't go back to the other reef where I got the Spanish this morning because the big tides, huge run out from the river, just makes it too dirty to dive. So we thought, oh, we'll try to get out the back here. Unfortunately, the visibility just deteriorated more and more as we got out there, so we had to change the plan. Instead, we swam around some of the rougher country and decided to have a look for some dew.
Yeah.
Pete and I have done a lot of diving together. We don't need to say much, but just give an indication of which way I'm going to go so we don't get lost and split up. And anyway, into this little bit of rougher water looking for a dew, which fortunately there was a couple zooming around. I thought I'd lost this fish too, because just after I shot him, he went out of sight, a bit of tension, and then nothing on the line. I thought, oh, I can't believe it, I've toughed it. But anyway, he just done a big 180 and come screaming past me where I couldn't see him, and pulled the line up, and oh, that's good tension on. And same thing, no need to go too hard on this fish. It's a gut shot, it could easily rip out. Just play him out. I'm not going to get any sharks in this round of bombing, I'm not likely to anyway. So yeah, just played it out very carefully to make sure I got hold of a fish. With the jewfish, I try to bear hug them right up against my body, get as much of me wrapped around it as possible, and then get your hand in the gills as soon as you can. With a little one like this, once you get the hand in the gills, you can well and truly control him.
Sneaky little afternoon dew. Perfect conditions for us. But why would you get it right just here?
Huh?
You got it right just here. That crate. Got it right here.
Yeah, just in that crack there. There was about 3 little ones on this one. Just have a look in there. There might be some more. I looked around and I thought that there were 2 undersized ones, but there was that one.
Ah, that's perfect, mate. He's a bloody ripper.
right at the back of mine for a second.
What's that, mate?
I said, just tight on the back of my float.
Yeah, no, I'll tuck him under my weight belt if you want.
Oh, righto.
That's a bloody stonker for in here.
Yeah.
There are so many wobbegong sharks around this place now. This guy's got a really good sniff of that jewfish and he wants to eat it off the float. So yeah, it was time to get out of that area. It's too shallow and they'll come up and yeah, really have a crack.
Yeah, he wants that Jew, that wobbegong.
Hey?
He wants to eat my Jew, that big wobbegong.
He come out of it. Well, that was who I saw just about 2 feet away from where the crays were. I thought, there's one is somewhere. He was fucking laying in the hole.
Yeah, what do you reckon? Can we head in?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it's a perfect way to finish the day. Diving with one of your good mates in a remote location with no people around and lovely conditions. I got a fish, Pete got a beautiful big cray, and yeah, it's happy days.
Yeah.
He's obviously got weight up in the hole.
Yeah. Pete, come and hold your cray up. Hey, that was a fantastic effort in that rough water.
Very fortunate. Very unfortunate for him.
Nice big male lobster. Yeah, that's awesome. Hold it for 2 seconds, mate. Hold the camera. Nice little bonus Jew, shot on the fly. I thought he'd lost him. It went slack and I've lost him. And he turned around, done a 180 and went out the other way. He's not massive, but he'd be good eating size one. What do you reckon?
Perfect.
Perfect. Oh, well, no mackerel, but we had to change our plans. It was a bit too dirty.
Here I am about 10 days earlier, getting in on the headland that I got the Spanish off, and today's a hell of a lot rougher, and I get in my gutter like normal and I'm trying to punch out against all this swell. It's just crazy. I've sped it up a fair bit so you don't have to put up with watching all of the footage, but yeah, this is what can happen to you when you get into these little traps. You're trying to punch out against the swell, the sets just keep coming in relentlessly, you've got a lot of reef pinning you in, and I need to be heading straight out to sea from here, but instead I'm getting washed to the north, and you'll see in this next little slowed down clip where this bommy sucks up out of the water. This bommy is one that I need to be on the outside of. I should not be in here. I'm in the throat leading into all the really hard reef, and if I don't get myself out of there in a second, I'm going to end up trashed all the way back into the shore. This is where my big hard dive R fins really come in handy when you really need to put the power down. Just go absolutely hard, hammer and tongs, punch, keep punching, get in front of that bommy, get through that water. Once you're into a little bit deeper stuff, it doesn't really matter how much swell is, you're going to be fine, but yep, you've got to put the yards in or you're going to end up in a lot of trouble. Here I've got a bommy straight in front of me, which is okay because I'm using that to break the force of the bigger wave, so I'm tucked down in behind that, and so I'm not getting as much water movement pushing me back into the reefs. When it's rough like this, you really should only dive headlands that you know really well. You get in on a headland you've never dived and you start ending up in crazy conditions like this, you can really do yourself some damage. Once we got out offshore, it was fantastic. The water's absolutely beautiful. Here's a nice Spanish come cruising in. I use this strumming technique, 1 hard, 2 hard, and then stop, don't chase the fish, and he's turned straight back around, but he's still really wary. Down on the sand, a little bit on the deeper side, and you see this double tail kick. When you see that, the mackerel's about to bolt. Anyway, I've just done a reflexive stupid shot and clean missed it by a fair bit, but such is life. I've seen another Spanish come in on me here, and he just does not want to have a bar of me at all, so no joy here. I've just seen this Samson fish trying to slip off this bommy and go out over the sand, and I need some fillets to eat, so I think I'll take him. He's a good eating size one, but once again, do this technique with the strumming. Don't go crazy. 2 strums, Just stop, wait, and then have a look at what happens. I see heaps of YouTube videos of people grunting at fish, and I know it works in some places, but I really think our local fish like Spanish and Samson fish, kingfish, they respond to one hard, sharp noise, like strumming the rubber, as opposed to just grunting at them. My mate Chris tried grunting at the mangrove jacks we were filming in the no spearing area about a month ago, and it only made them piss off. So yeah, it wasn't always, not always an effective technique, but I know it does work in some places.
First fish for 2023. Nice eating size Samson fish. Saw a couple of Spanish. Missed one. Couldn't get close to the other one. Anyway, beautiful.